Hello everyone and welcome to Best Side Cycling. In this video, we're going to go over the RSVP Ride from Seattle to Vancouver party hosted by Cascade Ride, where I will basically let you know everything that you need to know, all about what comes in with the bib registration and what you need to do with all of that. Go over the actual route itself if you've been doing this for the first time, as well as just introduce my own plans and what to do if you see me out there on the road. So without further ado, let's get into it. I will be riding here my folding bike Brompton along with my dad for the 2-day course. My objective is basically to help my dad get across the finish line. We've never done anything like this before together. We never grew up riding bikes. And he's also, his longest ride I think has only been about like 60 miles in a day. So this will be a very hard challenge for both of us. We'll go see how it goes, but I'm really looking forward to it. As well as proof that I know that you guys watched this video, August 26th is also my birthday. So if you see me out there, you can say happy birthday, Best Side Cycling. But without further ado, let's get first into the bibs. Or registration and all that. So the main thing that you're going to get in here, of course, is your own sort of bib number. So this is going to be the one that you hang on the back of your jersey. It comes with 2 tickets for both the finish line of the first day and on the second, where it ends at David Lamb Park in Vancouver. So keep that, as well as there's also important emergency information that you fill out in the back. And then what else within here? The main other things that you need to pay attention to here is sort of luggage tag here. So here, this is how you're going to be attaching it to your luggage to send it over to Bellingham, and then the drop-off point, and then essentially to Vancouver the next morning. And then also we have in here some promotional materials from Local Goods. I think here we have sponsor of the potatoes, Western potatoes, but here we also have this main number. This big one is for your bike. Usually it's in the front. It's going to be really important, especially for getting your bike back if you're using any of the Cascade transportation. It's how they identify you, but definitely something to just have on your bike. And then next would be some other promotional materials. There's some coupons and things, but I was going to want to get this main big guide here. So this is similar to the STP pamphlet. We're going to go over the whole route in a bit, or just the main sections, things that I would like to call out, but it has it all here that you can just read ahead of time. Mainly in terms of all the logistics of how you're getting back. I hope that you've already looked into that, but there's some of that detail here, but the latest information is always on the website. And on that note, I also did want to bring up in terms of the ride and in terms of planning for it, to really just look out for the AQI levels, air quality index. There's really high chance of things maybe changing in the next few days at a really rapid pace. So definitely just take your own safety to it's the utmost importance. I know that Cascade has put out some notice about it, and they might put some other further information if it does change for the worse, but let's cross our fingers and then we'll see how that goes. But definitely pay attention to that, as there are ongoing sort of wildfires all along, especially in the Okanagan in BC. But yeah, with that, there's also, I think lastly in here, there is the bike stickers. So and this important thing, yeah, so this is the helmet for your sticker to go on top, right in front for the photos and things. And then this one, this is new to me too. So I wrote this back in 2019, and yeah, this year they're coming out with a souvenir multi-tool that you can pick up at the initial start line only. So they're not going to be bringing it to David Lamb Park, to Vancouver, or to Bellingham. So make sure to keep this and then to redeem it before you start your ride. And then lastly, I think that's it. There's some more information here about the bag and truck situation, so definitely pay note and make sure you know where all your stuff is going. But with that, with this video, I mainly really wanted to talk about the route. So talking about my own experience first with RSVP, I did it in 2019, and it was my second year sort of riding road bikes in general. So I did Seattle to Portland the year before, so I had an idea of what it'd be like, but I was really entertained and really intrigued by the idea of riding back home, my hometown of Vancouver. So that's when I did it. So I still, and I've ridden the route to Bellingham actually on more than one occasion. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the route, especially for day one. So day one is going to be the longer day at about 109 miles into Bellingham. You start out at E18 parking lot, same as at Seattle to Portland at University of Washington. And then we head on to the Burke Gilman heading northbound. So this is interesting because a lot of this route on the first day is actually going to be on trail. But yeah, it's still, there's basically no closures for this whole ride. So definitely pay attention to other multi-use trail users. But I'm sure at that time in the morning, there won't be many. But I think looking at the map, there are going to be a few crossing guards at some of those notable intersections. And then after you go on that for a while, I would say the other main thing to note for this part is that there's not going to be a food stop until well into the ride at mile 35. So definitely bring your own feed and be prepared for that. I would say in general, RSVP has a lot less people at 1,500 versus 5,500 of Seattle to Portland this year, as well as I think it caters to a slightly more experienced crowd. For whatever reason, maybe it's the border or just the fact that it's a little bit hillier. But anyway, yeah, pay attention to that. Make sure you have enough to get at least to mile 35, as then you'll finish the Burke Gilman heading into Woodinville. I would say I would watch out for two things. One is the notable railroad tracks heading right into that area. There's this one set that's very not perpendicular to the road, and every time I've ridden RSVP or this route with friends, someone has gotten caught by them. So don't be that person, especially me with the Brompton wheels. I'm going to be really careful to clear room for myself so that I can make a maneuver to cross it exactly at 90-degree angle. But anyway, and then the other thing is the Woodinville Hill leading up north. That's probably going to be your main hilly challenge of the day. There's a few that are sort of similar, but that's probably going to be the tallest and longest one that you'll have encountered. It's right near the end. So if you can get through that one, you'll be just fine. So after you get through that, you make your way to Snohomish, going through a lot of rollers generally through the whole day, but this part is a little bit more rolly, and then you'll get to Snohomish where you get to the Centennial Trail. It's an awesome 30-mile trail, but we're only going for like 25 miles to it. Going through Arlington, there's a rest stop, and then we'll exit off to Bryant, some of the hills there where there is, yeah, like some more rollingness right there. So that will probably be the second sort of hilly area that you'll note to the ride. It's not like Seattle, Portland, where it's just like one hill and Puyallup. I would say for this route, maybe there's like a 3 or 4 per day. But I would say that part is the next one as you go through a lot of sometimes uncomfortable roads as you get there, because you'll go also on Highway 9. So definitely just be careful of cars. Make sure to call out for other people, as well as just stay to the right of the road. Things like that you'll just want to pay attention of, because yeah, some of those parts has a lot of traffic, but eventually you'll make your way into Mount Vernon, and that's where things get like super flat for a good while. You're basically, I think in Skagit County or Skagit Valley, and it's like super flat for a while. You just keep on riding through, and it's really nice going up. So, but the next thing I really want to call out in terms of this part was, so RSVP in 2019, and sort of a long staple of the route has always been to go visit Chuckanut Drive near Chuckanut Bay, where you can have a lot of great views of the water. In the most recent 2 years, they've changed the route in R2B2, the ride to Bellingham and back, to do this other route that's closer towards Samish Lake. So there is an option for you to sort of go on that original, more scenic route. It is more hillier, and it's not going to be also self-supported if you do choose to ride that way. There also was like an original lemonade stand where they put on the final hill of Chuckanut, where I think that lemonade stand will be moved to the new route, or the route that exists officially. So that's just something to call out in case it piques your interest. Like if you're feeling like really good, you're ahead of time, you're doing really well, I would consider going out that way just to experience some of those views. I really enjoyed it when I rode it first time. It was pretty brutal being at the end of the first day, knowing that you're just that close to descending down to Bellingham, but it was still really nice to enjoy that. So that's sort of up to you, but definitely just pay attention to those notes. But yeah, that's how you go. And then after that, you're in Bellingham first day and well rested, and you can enjoy the brewery and all those different things. So in terms of day 2, the things that I want to point out about the route is we're going to be heading up through Linden towards the border. The border has a set opening time, which I'll put here with the latest information. The thing with the border is it's basically a special crossing that is set up for the cyclists of the group ride. And when I did it in 2019, this is what it looked like. There was a long line. So unless you're like maybe ahead of time, chances are you're going to anticipate a pretty good wait. Processing 1,500 people is a lot time, even if we're sort of buffered out a bit. So I would assume that you can probably plan to wait at least for like 30 minutes to an hour, though I think that could highly be variable on your arrival time. So just put that in the back of your mind that it's not just going to be instantly crossing the border. But on that note, definitely make sure to bring the correct documents that you need and make sure that you're able to enter into Canada and return without issue. So, but when I did it, it was pretty nice. It was pretty novel being able to cross into another country for your ride, which was pretty cool. And then after you do that, you're gonna be riding right in Langley, and it's gonna be one straight road going up all the way till really deep till you almost get to Golden Years. But the part with Langley that I'll call out is that there's this one section of road, maybe for like 1 or 2 blocks, where it's legit steep. Like I think it's just 1 block where it's like you see this random little pitch on the elevation. I just remember back then calling it the wall, but it's like people are walking their bikes and everything. So that'll be your challenge. Try to not walk your bike on that part because it is properly steep. So, but after you go through there, you basically go out, do a few turns. You go across Golden Years. There isn't anything too crazy to point out there. There are some nice views aside. Make sure to make way. There isn't a lot of room on the bridges either in those sort of pathways, but it will suffice for this as you just sort of go along and ride through. And then you'll go on towards Port Moody, and a lot of it, I honestly, being Canadian, I really enjoyed the part just riding in Canada again. It's overall pretty nice as you'll be sort of in pretty quiet neighborhoods overall until you get a lot closer towards the urban areas in Burnaby and such. Then there is one section, sort of our Barnett highway, where it's a bit of a gradual climb, and then but it's like sort of just on a shoulder of a bigger road. But nothing like too much to call out there. I would definitely just, again, pay attention to just how far apart the stops are, because generally just isn't nearly as many. Like day 2 only has 2 food stops. So, I mean, that's only a sort of 80-90 mile day, but that just lets you account for in terms of like actual like eating. But you are going to be passing by a fair amount of like towns and areas. So there's a lot of places to stop. Like you're not in the middle of nowhere, especially once you get right into the middle of Langley. It's pretty much, you'll be able to find something if you really need it. And then after you finish Barnett Highway, you're sort of going to turn right onto, like, I think it's Hastings, and then it's sort of demarcated because you sort of go on this residential road. That's when you're basically on the neighborhood, the equivalent of sort of neighborhood greenways straight to downtown. So it's just a straight shot from that point, sort of going up and down some rollers, and then you'll soon enter sort of Vancouver downtown, and then you'll go onto the main trail where it's going to be a ton of people right near the famous Science World, and that's, you know, you're basically at the final kilometer. So from there, you'll enter into beautiful David Lamb Park in Yaletown, and that'll be completing your ride. And then you can go get your food, put down your bike, and all that. So I know that was a bit of a ramble, but hopefully some of those tips will come in handy. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time riding it a few years ago, so hopefully you will too, and then hopefully the weather will cooperate with us. So yeah, definitely if you see me out the road, remember to just wave hi to me and my dad, and then if you remember that it's my 30th, you can yell whatever congratulations you find appropriate. But hopefully see you out there and have a great ride.